We're recording.
Wonderful. Hello, hi.
Hello, hey, hi.
I love you. So welcome in to the Virgo Advisor podcast. I am here with my friend Laura. Laura is a TikTok friend turned mentee, turned all things. Just frankly, just turned all things at this point. Um, we've got quite the working relationship, I guess we will call it, for lack of a better term.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
we do. One thing her and I share in common, though, is today's topic. Well, actually, we share a lot of things in common, but it's today's topic, and it is Hecate. Deities in general. I mean, like, I'm not really going to go into too much generalities, to be frank, because we have very specific things, and we're just going to get it out there. This is definitely just a conversation piece. Yes, we are using it as a podcast episode with intentionality. A lot of folks are being called to work with the darker goddesses, and we are going to talk about our experience. We're going to talk about some channeled messages that Miss Hecate gave me, as well as the Morrigan last night. So we are just going to dive right the hell in. Laura, did we ever discuss what a true definition of a deity is?
No, we didn't. But can I say, I think it's really cool that we're in the time and age where TikTok introduced so many to deities and that Hecate was the first.
Yeah,
That was the first, at least in my algorithm, maybe it was different in others, that she was showing up strong and proud and the call was there.
I really feel like it mainly was her. You don't really hear much about Lilith. You don't really hear much about the Morrigan. You don't really hear much about Kali Ma right now. Like, you just don't. You are mainly hearing about Hecate. And not for nothing, I mentioned this actually in a Instagram reel turned TikTok. It's because we're at a crossroads.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
She is the
why.
goddess of the crossroads, and the entire world is at a crossroads, but very specifically, very niche down, women in the United States.
Yeah, amazing. I couldn't even give you a definition of a deity, so please, if you would.
Good news, I wrote it down from Google. So because I was like, what do I call you? Like, what is the deal? They were like, I'm gonna look it up. So deities are defined as supernatural beings, and they are considered sacred. They are considered to be worthy of worship due to their authority over some aspect of the universe. So as you're going through doing research on any deity that you're looking to work with or that you think wants to work with you, they all control some aspect of the universe.
Can
Uh-huh.
a god or a goddess or a saint can those all be deities? Do they have like different categorizations among that big umbrella?
So, for as much as I recall, and then I'll kind of let them intuitively guide me on this answer per usual, but archangels are not the same.
Okay.
Um, deities are truly going to be those, yeah, they are otherworldly beings, right? But they are definitely worshipped for very earthly stuff. And I feel like the archangels are more like spiritual and heart centered. And Hekate's like, I'll fucking slice your ass in half, bro. Shut the fuck up.
Okay. So the domains and then what they sort of preside over, that's probably a better word. Okay, got it, clear.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously there's gonna be gods and there's gonna be goddesses. I don't really care much about the gods currently.
Currently.
At all. And in fact, I couldn't even necessarily list them off for you. At all, now that I'm thinking about it. Is it the archangels? They just told me it wasn't them. Okay. Any hoodles. So, I'll maybe Google that later. But deities. I feel like everyone is going to have someone that they are going to want to work with on a spiritual journey at some point in time. Does everyone have to work with Hecate? Is it like this, like every spiritual person on the planet is going to start working with her? No, no. I don't feel that about any god or goddess, to be honest with you, because not everyone is going to have that same path.
Right. You actually have something soon where if they're wondering if Hekate's been reaching out to them, you will have to answer that question.
why we're doing this together. I am teaching a class tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Eastern, how to tell if Hecate wants you as a devotee. She gave me a whole bunch of information, and I also had done research from working with her previously, and I've combined that all together into a class. Again, a lot of people are seeing it on their FYP. Does that automatically mean that you are in it to win it with her? No, no. Does it mean you need to be aware of her? Yes. Does it mean you need to be aware of what's going on in the world and spiritually? Uh-huh. But yeah, if you're interested, you still got time to sign up.
February
Tickets,
20th.
yeah, February 20th. Tickets are 33 with intentionality because her number is 3, Hecate's number.
I love that. Is there also a chance that if someone's listening to this after February 20th, 2025, that they may still be able to hear or learn from that class?
Absolutely, because all of my classes are uploaded into my membership. So the classes are in the membership, plus any like stuff I give during the classes, any PDFs or any extras, all go into the membership. There is a whole thing for replays. The membership is a one-time fee, and you have access to it lifelong. And as I upload other content and other classes and expand on content, it all goes in there.
Perfection. Okay, so why now? Why is all this happening where all of a sudden there's a large group of people who's piqued interest of like, who is Hecate and why did I not know who she was until I was 41 years old?
Yeah, it's because we're kind of fucked. And we are shifting Earth timelines. It's real. We are shifting Earth timelines, and there is a massive uprising as well as awakening for the divine feminine. She, as we have stated before, is the goddess of the crossroad. She is the goddess of magic. She is the goddess of night. She is the goddess of the moon. I mean, we got a lot of shit here, right? A lot of things that she's in charge of. And she definitely looks for devotees who have very specific personality traits. And I feel like a lot of us are outside of just work with Hecate, a lot of us are shifting into a new reality for ourselves, which allows us to show up authentically, which allows us to have that confidence, which allows us to be very much, this is what I said, this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm living my life. She is definitely a goddess who you got to have some backbone.
Mm.
She's not coming to you if you don't have some chutzpah in you. You don't have any fire? No, nope. Because she wants you to ride into the dawn. Because she is the bridge from the dark to the light. So she will maintain that path from the darkness all the way to the light, and you got to be willing to go there. Which, funny enough, is kind of part of my tagline now, isn't it?
It is. It also feels like in that crossroads, you are being asked to step in, and she's there going, ready?
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing, you're always going to be at a different crossroad, right? And so at every crossroad, at every turn, are you going to need her guidance? No. But as you spiritually up level and as you just go through fucking life, even if you don't want to claim your spirituality, although I don't know why you're here if you don't, but I don't. But it's one of those things where there's always going to be a turn of events, and the goddess who meets you there is always going to say, "Yin or yang? Let me know." Her deal is you only got so long to answer.
And then should she move on? Yeah.
Yeah, so she'll either pluck you through and be like, "Well, you're here," or she's rolling. Also, indecision is not something she is fond of.
Mm-hmm.
None of the ladies I'm going to talk about today really flourish with indecision, although I don't know of anybody who actually flourishes in indecision anyway.
Yeah,
So
that
then
feels
there's
very,
that.
that feels human.
They don't understand.
Yeah.
It's this or that. So, and not choosing means you chose that. So I got to move on. Is kind of the energy there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that is definitely why she is showing up so loud and proud because that's who she is anyway. That's just who she is. She's loud and she's proud and she's like, this is what the fuck we're gonna do.
You have been working with multiples for years, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I went through a massive next spiritual awakening during my divorce, which is not uncommon because you're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And that's when Hecate, Lilith, and the Morrigan showed up. What's interesting in part of my journey, which is some a little bit she gets into in her channel message that I have here, I asked because I'm like, listen, when I started, working with you, like it felt very intentional. Like I had to know it was you and all of this. And she mentioned that at the time it didn't matter. I had no idea I was working with her during my divorce. I knew I was working with Lilith and I knew I was working with the Morgan, but I had no idea that she had come through. And her response was, you didn't need to know it was me. We had to get things done, which coincidentally enough is very much how I am. So kind of
You're
worked.
like, got it, clear. I'm glad we were on the same page about that.
Yeah. So they came through during the divorce process. And what it was is it was really my autonomy, my description of motherhood, and then obviously the mother wounds that go with that, right? And then also working with Jameson and working with him to feel empowered in his vessel. And they're also saying like his safety because he was just so energetically open and still kind of is. Go
In
ahead.
case people don't know, Jameson is.
Oh, that's my dude. He is my youngest. So if you haven't seen me anywhere else, I have two kiddos. I have two boys. One is going to be 18 here this summer, and the other one just turned 8. Jameson is my 8-year-old. Corey is my almost 18-year-old. JMO is definitely the saying beats to his own drum. I mean, he's got his own drum corps, that child. He is his own entity, but damn, does he feel everything. And I mean just everything. A hangnail might take him out 2, 3 days because he is just so concerned about the fact that he has one. Not so much anymore, but when during the divorce process, the emotions were so heightened for him because, of course, he's feeling everyone's everything. So it was just one of those things where kind of getting him to understand his energy a little bit without actually getting him to understand his energy was a thing. And so these ladies came forward. So Lilith is the goddess of motherhood and vengeance.
Hmm.
And so wasn't surprised when she showed up at all because like this is what we're going through. But then I was always she wasn't overshadowed by the Morgan necessarily, but I felt the Morgan's energy louder and prouder. And I always was like, well, what the hell? Because when I envision the Morgan, I mean, she is definitely like a battle warrior. She's launching her ass at you, torch in one hand, whatever she's going to kill you with in the other, and she's going to war. But the fact that she is also the goddess of fate.
Hmm.
And I will say, my marriage was not fated to last, but my son was fated to be here. So it didn't surprise me. She was making sure fate was still working in the way it was supposed to work. Then you had Lilith, who was like, yep, and we're going to carry your ass through these fucking things. Okay, great. And then Hecate very quietly came in the back and again didn't recognize it was her. But that's when I really found an aptitude and a calling for my personal magic, my connection to earth, and how I do magic, how I do spell work, how I do anything in that nature. And again, I didn't realize it was her that was calling me to that, but it makes a ton of sense now that her and I have talked about it. So yeah, those are my three. But you have an interesting one. You have Miss Freya.
I do have Freya. Hang on. When you say showed, I know how they showed up to me. When you say showed up because of your different psychic abilities, what does that actually mean?
Yeah. So a couple different things actually. So when I say showed up for this scenario, the
Mhm.
very first time I met them, I had sacred space in my basement when I was still living in Omaha. And I had set up a table, like an altar for all my spiritual stuff. They just approached. So, not everybody can or does see, obviously, but in this scenario, they were loud and proud. But again, I didn't see Hecate. She did not show up for that little meeting, but the other two did. And so, what I would say now is I don't always see them, but their energy feels different to me inside my body.
Do you think, even though you didn't know it was Hecate, do you now recognize that what you were feeling was her?
No,
Okay. I was curious if it transmuted based off of how present or how strong she was within your life.
I honestly don't think she really cared to be known.
Okay.
And looking back, there were so many heightened emotions at so many different points. And so many things I felt my boundaries were completely crossed and obliterated on. That at that point, I think she was like, I don't give a fuck if you know it's me or not. Like, her energy, I couldn't have picked it out.
Okay.
And looking back, I asked, because I asked last night after she gave me this message, right? And I was like, did I just really like straight up miss your energy? She was like, no. Mm-mm. She gave me the information. I
Yeah.
didn't feel her. Now it feels like a ton of static electricity is coursing through my body when she enters my field.
Yeah.
So now there's a feeling. Whereas then she was more, she was in the gonna get some shit done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, looking back, I would have never discerned.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I came to you about Hecate because I
Mhm.
was like, how do you know when?
Uh-huh.
Because I was amongst the masses as well that kept getting Hecate stuff in my feed. And, I did like a little sort of beginnings of research and like what she stands for. I was like, oh, yeah, I could see how we're in line with a bunch of things. But it was you actually who was like, yeah, she could be. And then later you divulged that you were actually surprised. So tell our audience why you were surprised that Hecate was pulling me in.
Same reason I'm surprised about a lot of things with you, Miss Laura. Um, so a difference between you and I,
Mhm,
maybe this is just the stage of life you're in. Maybe. I more entertain the darkness
mhm.
and I more walk the dark to bring people to the light. And you just really are on the light side.
Yeah.
You really are. Like your whole energy being yourself, like the work that you're drawn to, very much of the light. Now, does it surprise you that Hecate reached out? Oh, yeah, it did. But if I really think about it now, especially after the channel message, I'm like, yeah, not surprising. Because what are we going to do with these people when they get to the light?
Yes. And even, I feel like my end will be not as magic as your magic, but it's still going to be magic. Oh, you don't think it is?
I'm trying to figure out why you would think mine would be better than yours or bigger than yours.
Oh, not better.
Okay.
Concentrated? Is that a better word? But maybe not. I don't know. I could be wrong. Um,
That sounded like how
so
that sounded. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
what was cool about, so she showed up and then I asked you, and then I had a reading with another mentor that I have, and every Hecate symbol that ever symboled showed up. And that mentor was like, are you working with Hecate? And I was like, that's funny. You should say that.
Weird.
Um, and that was very cool. And I sort of started a little bit of channeling, but I wasn't going full forward, but I did start an altar based off of talking
Yeah,
to you. And maybe 3 weeks later was when Freya came to me. And this wasn't that long ago. This was now probably only like 3 weeks, right? Maybe
yeah.
maybe 2 weeks. Freya came to me in the middle of a metaphysical shop in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where my ear started buzzing so loud. And
Hmm.
I was standing looking at this wall going, what?
How can I
What,
help you?
how can I, who would like, what is, who is, what, huh? So I was just sort of standing there, and like this side was herbs and things, and this side was candles and statues. And sure enough, I just like took a couple deep breaths. I started my hand like along it to see like what's warm or what's buzzing, and both Odin and Freya was stronger than Odin, but together, I at this moment know nearly nothing about either of them. Maybe have heard their name. Still don't feel like I know that much. I'm at the beginning of this whole process. And I sent you a text message. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, excuse me, do you work with Freya at all? And you're like, no, why? And I was like, well, funny thing.
Funny thing,
I feel as
Freya
though she's calling.
is, again, that doesn't surprise me though for you.
Mhm.
Because in my mind, without even actually, I don't think I ever actually even looked and figured out what she is the true goddess of. Um, but her energy to me feels more in line with Yo vibe in a good
Yes.
way.
Yes. Okay, so she is love, fertility, battle, death, and magic. So not
Enough.
that far from Hecate in some ways, just like a different energy body.
Yeah. But damn, does her energy feel a little softer? Her energy reminds me of Bridget,
Mm.
who is someone that I work with as well.
So I think it was just last week was the first time that I like really sat down and was like, hello. We haven't had the conversation of what are you doing here and what am
Uh-huh.
I here to do for you?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I messaged you about sort of the feelings between the two, and like Freya felt calmer,
Oh yeah.
more just more open, more right. And then I think I said to you very specifically, almost felt like I was going to throw up when I switched to Hecate.
You
The
did.
that energy shift and that buzz was just so different. And so for me, it does still right now for my psychic abilities, feeling is the most
Yeah.
prevalent.
Yeah.
And then I'm still just getting dropped things.
Yeah.
But really cool experience to do back to back of feeling what those two different energies feel like.
Absolutely. Um, do you have a dedicated space for them?
I do in two
How do
different
you?
parts of the house.
Nice. How do you venerate?
What does the word venerate mean?
I was just going to give you that answer anyway. In this case, it's how you show them time, attention, love,
Yes.
all the things.
Freya has her altar and weekly candle and offerings. Offerings are based off of both what I've read and also what I have and what I ask her as I'm putting it together.
Absolutely.
Um, and then Freya doesn't have a candle right now. I didn't really get pulled to do a candle for her, but she has some crystals and some jewelry and some honey.
Did you end up getting the statue?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry. And the statue. Of course. I
Yeah.
left that metaphysical store with her statue going, I'm gonna figure out this.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Um, no, that feels really good. Hecate didn't want a statue when I started working with her. I still don't feel the need to have a statue. I do work with one other deity who does have a statue. Um, but with Hecate, I recently asked, I'm like, when I'm doing things, I just feel like I venerate you then, right? Because her and I don't always have to work together, just like you don't always have to work with a goddess or a deity in general. And so before I even like begin working is when I start venerating, right? And then you like build up to working with them. And I notice that as needed, or if I feel like she's in my energy, then I'm like, okay, fine. And so I've noticed for her, she just likes a plain black taper in my world anyway. Just a
Mm-hmm.
plain black taper. I sometimes carve her name on it, sometimes I fucking don't. She likes me to light it after 10 p.m. Okay, fine. And lately she has wanted a full clove of garlic, pomegranate seeds, and a piece of chocolate.
Delightful.
Have a good time, friend. I love
Mm-hmm.
that for you. And I'll usually write out a little like, hey, here's your offering. Let me know how it goes. I'm like, let me know how it goes.
Give a
And
call if you need anything else.
hook me up. And then I put that paper like under it. So like if the candle does for some reason drip wax, my candles have not been dripping wax lately. The wax will fall on the paper and then the thing is on the paper. So it's like, this is your place setting. Here you go. And that seems to work really well. I have noticed that neither the Morgan or Lilith have ever really required me to venerate or to do something very specific for them.
Mm.
And that was one of the things I asked last night when Hecate was like, "No, I got some shit for you. Sit the fuck down." And I was like, "Where? Where do you want me to sit? You want me to sit at my desk?" She's like, "No, in your bed. Sit in your bed. Let's do this." I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine."
But grab a notebook.
It's literally. Um, so I was like, I don't know, because sometimes I feel like I do things quote unquote wrong, knowing I always do what I'm called to do though anyway.
What do you mean by
It's
wrong? What feels wrong?
well, nothing feels wrong.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I feel like the general public would be like, you're full of shit. You absolutely have to have a full ass altar for all these people, blah, blah, blah. And to them, I say, I didn't fucking ask you.
No.
I didn't ask you. Not a day in my life, actually, did I pull the audience. What?
But it also feels like that's just another call too. We're all going to work in different ways with them. Is that that's on the list? Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
So let's take this moment to shamelessly plug the fact that whatever the fuck you hear from whatever deity you're using or not using is what the hell you're supposed to do.
Is this a good time to also say some of the things they're handling may not be correct?
Yeah. I mean, so everybody feels, not everybody.
Some people.
I do feel like it is the masses. I can't lie, actually. They all feel like you have to have a consistent working altar for all the deities that you could ever want to work with or the ones that you are working with. No. Especially if this is not something you do full time. If you are not channeling a deity full time for your workings, why?
Yeah.
They don't want to just, because think about it. If you are channeling someone, that means there's an active connection. They have no desire to be active for fucking nothing. What are we talking for then?
They got other things to do.
Right. Which is why I had said, and this is what I do when I do workings, if I know I'm going to be doing a working, I start speaking before I start doing the working, and keeping in mind a lot of workings are layered, right? And so they aren't completed in one night. Workings can, you can start this one, you might not finish till the next full moon, right? Like it doesn't, there's no timeline on it, especially if they need layers and they need intentionality, and that takes energy. So knowing that and knowing you're going to be dipping in and out with them during the working, start before. 3 days is usually my typical, to be honest with you, because I can't remember further out than that. Start before, communicate with them, do your divination, know what the fuck you're doing before you set out and really come to them and petition for anything.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple of practitioners, let's just say people, but they are truly practitioners who always have an altar going. But that's what they do for a living.
Yeah.
They consistently work with this deity to do their work. So, and it's in like 24/7, they'll do spell work for you, they'll do rituals for you, they will do all these things, and they have a fun. So, okay, fine. So, yeah, you do have 20 candles going at once on your massive altar with all these things and all these statues and all, yeah. But for the average person, it's just not necessary. And I feel like the majority of witch talk would have you believe that it is.
Mm.
And I mean, I guess if you need to burn a candle, Nobody fucking cares. Go ahead. But is it necessary for them? I don't think so. That is just not the information they've ever given me.
Yeah. It makes sense too that what people are saying they're doing as full-time practitioners would run their business is not going to be what Joe Schmo, regular person who also has a regular job, who's also keeping kids or pets or family. Like,
Hmm?
it's just not the
Yeah,
same thing.
no.
Yeah, got it.
You can be spiritual without it having to be your business, without having it to be your full-time,
Everything.
yeah, your world.
Did you talk about Bridget at all?
No,
Do you want to? You don't have to.
we can. Um, Her energy currently with me, number one, I have some Irish roots. So like her and the Morgan, not surprised. My ancestor on the other side, who is Irish, we work very closely together anyway. Again, not surprising. But Bridget is the goddess of multiple things. But for me, where she comes in is the goddess of healers.
Mm,
So that is the work her and I do. But she works with me on my own healing, right? And then gives me the tools to go out and about and show you all what the fuck it is we're doing. She definitely feels more, I had written down in my notes sister, but it doesn't even feel sister. It feels just more like kinship. Um,
like you have a
but
commonality in what you're doing together.
yeah, yeah. But like there's also almost like an ancestral connection. I've never looked into it. I doubt I am actually like related to her. I doubt it. But it feels, that's the energy of what it feels like. So it's very comforting energy. Granted, she can be a badass too, but it is very comforting energy, very much heart opening, gift expansive in terms of the healing.
Got it. Are you often working with two or three pretty closely, or is it sort of ebb and flow as what is or is happening in your life?
I have a twofold answer for that. Number one, I don't give a fuck. Like, if we're working together, let's just do that and then we can be done and then we can move on, and then we can do it again and be done and move on. I find that as my gifts have been expanding, not that everybody has access to my energy because they don't, but there are just certain entities, for lack of a better term, that do consistently have access to me because we have worked together. And I've noticed for a fair amount of time that they just kind of hang out in this like back corner of my brain. Feels like there's just a gaggle hanging out back there. Truly. And it feels like they're just like waiting and watching, like, will she need us soon? Is she going to decide to do this or is she going to decide to do that? We're here.
It
I've
feels,
noticed that when I'm working, it's usually one.
ooh,
But you have to remember, I had that really big crossroads 5 years ago now, right?
yeah,
And I haven't needed to traverse another really big one since. So that was all hands on deck. Um, so I typically work with one at a time.
got it. Does that feel then like just support with them hanging out? Like you know they're there?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Feels like the energy is different from like a guide or like ancestors, right? But it definitely just feels like, yo, if you need us, what's up? Um, but they don't like interfere. It's very interesting. I can tell when they come and go.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's like a mass exodus, I'm like, oh, okay, I must be cruising for a while. All right, we'll just keep on cruising. I will say they've kind of been back there consistently a full year now.
Mm. That's not surprised with all the activation and the up leveling.
Valid.
And the divine feminine coming in hot.
Ooh, hot, hot. Matter of fact, they're actually drawing a parallel. They showed up right before I quit my last full-time job because that was right before Valentine's Day last year. And in fact, I remember saying to myself, I can make it till Valentine's Day.
Ooh.
I did not make it till Valentine's Day.
The narrator says she, in fact, did not make it.
Did not.
Yeah.
In typical Jen fashion, I woke up on a Thursday and said, no.
And we're good. Thank you so much.
Sent a Slack, said, hey, I'm gonna be late. And when I get there, I'm turning my keys in my laptop. I'm cool, though. Oh. But they showed up right before that. Yeah, they showed up at like the end of January, which was right before I had my review. And if we recall at my review, they had said I had to shut down all my social media.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Oh, yeah. The fuck are you talking about?
I
No.
like that they were there for the jump. They were like, in case you forgot you were supported, we're gonna get you through this next transition.
Yeah. I remember then I went to Miami like 6 weeks after I quit my job. And then if you recall, that's also when I got banned on TikTok.
Nice.
So anyway, so yeah, they knew how I was gonna take it. I mean, keep in mind the boss man did not mince words. He had been telling everybody they'd shut down their social media, and I was like, give a fuck.
Still haven't done
Still
that.
don't
Thank you, though.
actually. If you're watching, Kirk, didn't give a fuck then, don't give a fuck now.
Hey,
But
Kirk.
yeah. Hey boo. No, I just no.
All right, before
Mm-mm.
we do channeled messages, um, so you talked a little bit how we work with them for what and why, and a little bit about how altars are different, but like what is really happening when you work with a deity?
You're channeling their energy, what they're known for, into whatever you need.
Mm.
They're going to be the missing link in your makeup for what's next. So, as you're pulling on the energy of Hecate, because you are at a crossroad, what you're basically asking for is the courage to do what you know you need to do. And so, when you pull on their energy for whatever it is you're doing, you're basically saying to yourself, I'm committed to this path. Let's go. Here we go. Oftentimes, that looks like spell work. Oftentimes, that looks like ritual work to start setting yourself up for moving in the right direction. Um, Other times, it just looks like communication. I've had Hecate show up and just be like, you're a fucking badass. Just go do that thing that makes you nervous. Because, yes, I do get nervous. Um, and sometimes it's literally just that. And she'll be like, remember what the fuck it is we're here for.
Yeah, that confirmation.
Yeah,
It also feels like if you don't know, then you ask.
absolutely. Because they will say, and that's one of those things like they will always tell you. But I think what most people don't understand is they aren't here to tell you what you want to hear.
Sure.
They're going to give you 3 to 5 words of what you need to know. Goodbye.
Hmm.
I mean, it's rare that I get, I mean, this is a full on whole ass message. And when I was done, I mean, we got a couple pages here, but when I was done, I was like, did I fill any of this in? You tell me right now. And she was like, absolutely not. But they typically, especially her, which for me works because this is also how I am, she just gives very distinct, specific messages. And there's no fluff. There's no filler words. There is no nothing. So it's just very much boom, boom, boom. And when you ask, she will fucking tell you. And if she doesn't tell you, that means she's done told your ass all fucking right.
You
Damn
were
good reviews.
surprised. You were surprised she said yes to doing a class.
I was, but then also I guess I'm not.
Anymore, at least, because she's got some things to say.
She's got some things to say, but then also as I thought about it, I'm like, while she is private, then why the fuck are all the messages coming on TikTok? Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel this way actually about a lot of things spirituality concerned. I have a different view than some folks. And I think people who are new to the game might think there's truly only one way that anything works.
Mm.
And like there's just fucking not, man. And so oftentimes I realize like, oh, because I don't give a shit what you think about me. I am willing to be the voice of like, no, this is really what's up.
That there isn't one way to do it. I mean, that's already come up in this conversation a few times, but it also, for me, opens up that like it's on you to create these relationships. It's on you to create this life you want. You have support and options. What are
100%.
you going to step into?
100%. Because here's the thing, and we've talked about this too. They don't want to work with people who don't have a backbone. Do
Yeah.
you have your own ideas? Are you committed to them? Are you committed to putting out a podcast that does not go with half the shit that you hear? Yep,
Yeah.
sure am. Are you committed to giving a class that aligns but doesn't fully align with all the other shit you read about? Yep, I am. I don't care. You
Yeah.
tell me I'm
No
wrong, go ahead.
questions. Not only having a backbone, but it also shows up for me as just being ready for change, being ready for hearing that there could be different ways that you do things, different ways that you approach new energies to get you from point A to point B. It does feel like they can be some support to the backbone, was just what came to me of like, you may not feel like you're fully ready there to be a badass. That's actually part of what they're going to help you to do. You just have the gumption to get started.
But that would be badassery. Because how many other fucking hoes are out here not getting started?
Yes. I also think you and I were both born with more confidence than
Yes.
perhaps some of the general population. So it's also easy to listen to others who have been doing it and be like, well, that's not me. I have to say, I think if you just heard me say that, it's probably is you.
Probably.
Because you're here and you would only be here for a reason.
Yep.
So I have that. I have that point of view.
Not a bad one. But yeah, I mean, they are definitely here to show, like, you aren't expected to show up and work with these people knowing everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want to guide you. Teachable moments.
Yeah.
Are you gonna fuck some shit up? That's relative. Do they really care? No. But are you gonna feel like maybe you didn't do it the way you could have or the right way? Yeah,
That's so human of you.
exactly. Because is there actually a right way?
No,
It's
never
whatever you're
ever.
called for.
Okay, I'm so excited for these channel messages because I hope some of them are for me too.
We'll see. I didn't reread this. So I just need you
Perfect.
all to know, like, this is literally channeled handwriting right here. So we're gonna
Discover it together.
we really are. Because in typical Jen fashion, I wrote this shit and rolled over and went to bed. Uh, okay. Okay. So a little bit is going to be about me, which she says is important for all people.
And this
So
channel message started with Hecate, but then you did get a little, who did you
I
get at the
got some from
end?
the Morgan.
From the Morgan. Okay.
Not much, but she was like, yeah, yo, I'm here too,
Okay.
which I was here for. Lilith was like, meh, carry on.
You guys do you.
Yeah. And Bridget was like,
Hello. Oh,
um,
would it be in an Irish accent? Hello.
no, darling. Yeah. So here we go. So my current crossroads, believing even more fully in myself or continuing with self-sabotage.
Oh, that's big.
Mhm. This is from her, so I'm going to read it in her tense. So, first person?
Yeah.
Anyway, I love fierce, independent free thinkers. I require you to own your power. Magic is at its highest when you firmly believe and call toward you your heart's desires. You're not meant to die at the crossroads. Pause. Um, when I was channeling this message, you're not meant to die at the cross. First of all, she gave me this whole fucking thing at once, right? But she showed me an image, and it's not that you're going to die at a crossroads, it's the indecision. She considers indecision to be death. Death of your free thought, death of moving forward.
Death of your power. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. So I was like, we're dying at a crossroads. And then she gave me that image, and it was just someone who is literally, it felt like they were right here at my street corner, just going,
Waffling.
you ever get behind somebody who's like, I think I'm gonna turn right. Just kidding, I'm gonna go left. And you're like, what the fuck are you gonna do? It was that energy. So
Okay, this
You
is
are,
the second time I've gotten indecision kills you too, which my mom used to say about turning in your car. Because if you hesitate,
oh,
that's
she
when
had
you're
more.
that's when you're gonna get in the most accidents. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Mm-hmm. The valid. Maybe my son needs to listen to that part. Okay. So you're not meant to die at the crossroads. You're meant to liberate yourself. The infusion of my power at the crossroad is simply activating yours. What will you do with this energy, this power, longing to be used for your life force?
So that's putting, she's saying, I'm going to infuse your power, but it's still going to be in your choice. It's still going to be in your seat, my friend.
Always. Because what
Always.
is she like? A fierce, independent woman.
Yep. Is
What are
it
you going to do with it?
is it mostly women that she works with?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Does she really care?
Probably not.
No. Veneration. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but she says everyone is different in how they work with me. Not everyone is meant to know it's my power they're drawing upon for their magic. Because then I was like, huh? And that's when she gave me like, yeah, ho, we were working together during your divorce. You didn't even know. And I was like, how does that work? She's like, you didn't know it was me. Get it done. Um, Funny enough, she gave me a message just for me that I will share with y'all because I don't want you to think you have to block these people in a corner. She wants me to call upon her for beauty, inner beauty, shining brightly inside to the outside. And I said, why? She's like, it's time to expand your healer. I feel like my healer expands all the fucking time. But the healing I do is bringing people from the darkness into the light. So it tracked in my brain. I was like, okay, hell, I see you. I see you. She also wants to know that she often delivers clear and concise, no fluff in communication. Um, and that's not to be mean, that's to simply make you think. This might be on the next page, but I'm going to segue into it. If I find it on the next page, that's fine. You must be specific when speaking with her. And what I've figured out she means is oftentimes people will be like, I wouldn't really call upon her for manifesting, but this is an easy example to use. I just need my bill money.
Hmm.
But really, what you wanted to say was, I'd like a cool 15K because I need my bill money and I want to throw a little extra in the pot. And then I also want to get my hair done. And I would like to have the things I need plus the things I want. But you didn't feel confident enough to say, that's what I want. So when it's clear and concise that she wants to communicate with you, she expects the same back. Don't dawdle over like, but should I ask for that extra? If that's what the fuck you wanted, then that's what you need to ask for, or else you'll get nothing because she feels the lie.
And the lie is an admission, and the lie is in lack of conciseness in standing in your power.
The lie is also you know what you wanted, but you didn't feel worthy enough to ask for it.
Ouch. Yep. Yes, I can see how we can all stand in that.
She
Okay.
ain't the one.
Yeah.
She's just not the one. That's why when people are like, do you work with yeah, listen, you can work with her. Be so fucking for real. Because what did I even say to you? She's so like,
Yes.
she's tricky to communicate with. And it's not that she's trying to trick you.
Mm-hmm.
No, no. Say what you fucking mean and mean what you say wholeheartedly. And if
Yep.
you don't actually mean it and you wish it was something different, don't fucking open your mouth. That's literally her. Don't open your mouth then.
Yeah, yeah. Wait until you can be in that power and then come back. Thank you.
Absolutely. Because she owns hers, and so she expects us to own ours. Also, random note, I find that when I'm divining for any god, goddess, whatever, I just do it wherever I am, oftentimes in my office, right? She says if you have a true need, to ask for help at an actual crossroad between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m.
Ooh, that's good. Because I saw at some point to also give her offerings at crossroads when you are
Hmm.
at a crossroads. And that like ping, ping, pinged.
Yeah, I'll throw an apple core out at a crossroad or just an
Yep.
apple. Also, there's enough wildlife around here that that's cool. And also dogs don't die on apples, and I live in Colorado. So I do though. Like I try to not do it in like heavily populated areas. I'll do it like if I'm up in the mountains or whatever, because deer will eat it, whatever. But yeah, absolutely. But I thought that was intriguing between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m.
I mean, makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. Oh, just all I had to do was flip the page. I'm easiest to work with if they tell the truth. What is it they truly need? Did you divine before asking me? Ask for a way. She's giving different segments. So if maybe you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, ask for a way forward toward the goal, or if it's even possible before asking for the task to be done.
Ooh.
Because she's basically saying sometimes if your end result is here, you can't go from here to here. There's this middle stage, and she would just say that. I feel like for some people, she would also just say no. And then you have to figure out that there's a middle stage. So if you're ever asking, there's a reason if she says no.
And that when you know what the end goal is and you don't know how you're getting there, is there a way forward? Is a very clear, concise question.
Sure is. And she wants that, right? Like, is there a way forward? It's either gonna be yes or no. I mean, she's not gonna be like,
I don't know.
"Mm,
You tell me. No,
yeah,
that's not going to come out of her mouth.
no, yes, no. And then she'll like wait for the next question. Um, I did ask if there was anything I was missing in like the how will they know if it's you calling them. Um, she says if you have questions about that, light a candle and ask the flame.
Perfect.
Flame grows. The answer is yes. If the flame snubs, she don't give a book. It ain't her. Also, if you feel her power in your belly, that is also her calling. And that is something you could specifically say, like, hey, I mean, you don't have to have done all sorts of veneration before you ask a question like this. You know, it would literally be like, hey, Hecate, is this your essence? Is this your power that I'm feeling inside of my body calling? She'll say yay or nay. She don't care if you done lit a candle and gave an offering. She'll tell you.
Yep.
Um, if you do leave out offerings and they've been eaten or they've been moved. She also said, so Hecate is often known to have like black dogs. Funny enough, my soul dog is a black dog. Um, and she's known for a couple other animals, but she specifically stated right now, owls and coyotes is what
Okay.
she's using as a symbol currently, as well as like dogs. Like that's fine. If you hear a dog barking, but there's no dogs around, you must not live in Colorado, first of all. But if there's no dogs around, that could be her. And then
Is she still crows as well, or not as prevalent right now?
not as prevalent.
Okay.
Morgan is crows. Heavy, heavy, heavy on the crows.
Okay.
Um, Also, she showed me how I could have maybe guessed it was her when we first started working together, but then she did admit I wouldn't have figured out. I had raised my arms. I realize you can't see me on the screen. I
Oh,
had raised my arms when I was doing some work. And when I did that, it felt like a lightning bolt struck my palms with a ting and a hot zing. And then that carried all the way up and it sat. I actually had to take my bra off. So I was like, what's happening? Like, I
in
didn't
my sternum.
understand.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't understand at the time. I was like, I knew it was this underwire bra. I fucking, ripping that off. But it came down both arms and it just sat there for a second and then it went and it just expanded. And at that point in time, my hands felt like they had so much electricity that actually the tablecloth that I always keep over top any of my working tables lifts. It was lifting when I had my hands near it. So she's like, yeah, you can't miss that.
It was that giant electrical storm I sent you.
At the time I did. And of course I was doing it during like a thunderstorm and it was like midnight. My basement's half haunted and like whatever else. So it was a whole thing. So anyway, she also says to continue talking to her weekly. And you can venerate at the same time, but she also wants you to know part of your veneration. I don't often walk around my house and show you guys, but there's not a space in my main living area that doesn't have plant.
Mm.
Taking care of your plants is a great way to venerate her. Watering them, you can talk to her while you're watering them. You can do, pruning them, all of those things. It's a really great way. She does like a good 7-day candle. You can give her food. That's great. She also highlighted, I saw it in my mind as like a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's lantern. She loves a good lantern. That's one of her things too. So if you have one of those, and you want to put a candle in there, bee's knees, she likes it. Um, in the darkness. Oh, her final message. We've been at this a while. That's okay. Her final message: in the darkness, I will supersede ancestors and guides. I will walk both and bring you back to the light. So I feel like she's referencing walking both in the light and the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you are in a time of like dark night of the soul energy where you feel like you are constantly in the dark, now would be a great time to see if she wants to work with you because she will pull you back to the light if that's where you are meant to be at this time. The Morrigan was really simple. Um, she says look for her in 3 birds. 3 is significant for her and Hecate. She is considered the triple goddess. She has really valiant energy. And so if you feel like you're noble, like you're a knight, and you are like going off to war, this would be the lady you would call in, right? It's like somebody that you would need as an ally before you go into battle. But she's also mentioning like battles can be courtrooms, battles can be internal, and battles can be within your family, and she's willing to support all of those. Um, Specifically, she said look for her on the full moon, and I thought that was intriguing because I don't think she's the goddess of the full moon. My understanding is she's actually the goddess of the new moon and the waning and the waxing. Anyway, definitely has Irish roots. And so she is spending a lot of time calling up Irish blooded women because she wants them to remember the famine. But she says, this time we will feast. I do not recall the Irish famine. Anyway, she is the rebirth. She says quite specifically, I am the rebirth. When the crows are calling, that is the battle cry in the women's hearts that she's activating.
Mm.
So there you go.
I
There's our
love,
channel messages.
I love all of this.
Yeah, I feel like they just have a lot to say. And I feel like we're at such a time where we have to not only believe in something outside of ourselves, but we have to have something that helps us also believe in ourselves at the same time. Very much we'll lend our power to yours because you're going to do the good fight. And they're doing what they can from the spiritual realm, the ancestral realm. And it feels like that's very much an overflow right now.
Yeah. It does feel like any way in which we can remember how powerful and supported we are, no matter what we're going through. I mean, we're watching what the world is going through as well, right? So our individual journeys are affecting more than we think. And that's what it feels like in working with these um, deities is that reminder that you're part of the greater.
Well, and I also think it's a reminder that the more you do focus on working on your shit, you're also working with the collective.
Right.
So don't think you set down your own shit to take up the sword of the many men march over here. Okay. Because that's not necessarily it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, the most impact you can have on your community, your state, your country is going to be what you do internally for yourself to set you up for success as you go out into the world. And so, are you solid? Are you good? If you are not, they will help you with that. And they will get you to the spot where then they will stand behind you energetically and get your shit done.
Perfection. I'm excited for your class where you're going to dive more into all of this.
Yes, ma'am, we sure are. Thank you so much for listening. Our conversations are always a grand old time. Laura will probably be back. We already know she will be. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening about the deities, and thanks for putting your own energy and your experiences in here as well. We appreciate.
Thanks for having me. And oh, everybody go be a badass.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, man.
Bye.
Bye.